Welcome to the Wealthy Business Goddess Show for purpose-driven, passion-fueled spiritual entrepreneurs ready to live their purpose, passion and prosperity as they create the life and business of their dreams whilst transforming the world, doing what they love and making fabulous money. Each week we bring you inspiring and empowering topics, popular thought leaders to empower you to transform all areas of your life and business. With your host, spiritual intuitive, entrepreneur, transformational business coach and mentor, Kimberley Lovell.
Hello, sweethearts. It's Kimberley Lovell here, your host for the Wealthy Business Goddess Show, and I'm super excited today to be sharing with your wonderful guest, Betsy Pegg, all the way from Atlanta. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Betsy. So, Betsy Pegg is an entrepreneur, an award-winning business achiever, a competitive weightlifter, and life strategist who hosts the popular podcast, The Art of Living Big. She's author of the best-selling book, Become a Nutrition Ninja. Just released Start Small, Live Big, which is your latest book, right?
Yep.
Fabulous. So Betsy's mission is to help inspire others to thrive through change by starting small. I know that's going to be good news for lots of you. She loves a good tailgate. Not sure what that means. The smell of the ocean and relaxing with a good book. So she lives outside Atlanta, GA, with her husband Craig and her daughter Olive. So welcome, Betsy.
Yay, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. I'm looking forward to this topic. So how to live a big life by starting small.
Yes.
Fantastic. Tell me first, what do you mean by a good tailgate?
So before the football games, so I live, in the United States in the South, where football is like a religion. And before the football games, we all get together sometime for hours, and there's a party like in the parking lot before we go into the game. And it's so much fun to just connect with everybody you haven't seen since the last football season. And
and that's called a tailgate.
Well, it's called a tailgate because you sort of do it on the tailgate of your truck, hypothetically. You know?
Okay, got it. Well, I love a party. I don't like people tailgating me. But yeah, good. Hey, good. Betsy, tell us, how did you, this idea of the start small and live big, how did that come to you? Kind of where did that come from?
Yeah, I think that in our culture now, we have this thing that's like, go big or go home. And I had never really felt like that worked for me. Every time I tried that, I went big for like a week, and then it kind of crashed and burned. But a few years ago, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, my daughter, who's now in high school, but she was going into middle school, and she started experiencing a lot of anxiety. And it was interesting because it didn't take too long before the school called and they told me she was having panic attacks. And honestly, my first reaction was like, it's middle school. Like, I'm having a panic attack. Nobody likes middle school. But in the end, I realized she was really having like a terrible reaction to any kind of change that was out of the ordinary. And so after some time, I brought her to a doctor, and the doctor said to her, you have an army in your brain, and your army is built to keep you safe. And your army is just really strong. So we have to teach it you're okay. And when the doctor said that to her, I thought, oh my gosh, it's her amygdala, right? It's your freeze, fight, or flight response. But I realized that the people that I had been coaching one-on-one were experiencing something that was so similar to my daughter Olive. And, they weren't having panic attacks. They weren't at work, like, hiding in the bathroom calling me like she was. But they had this resistance to change. And so I started to experiment and do with them what I had been doing with her, which was to really go so small, to make changes that were so tiny that it kind of tiptoed past your amygdala, right? So it kind of tiptoed past that response to make you fearful and seize up. And so as I tried it over and over and over again, I found the results were incredible, and people started doing things that they wanted to do but had never done before. And so that's really how how it started. And then I became obsessed, and I talked to everybody that I knew that was successful and tried to break down their process. And I realized it was all the same. It was all this starting very, very small with something under 5 minutes.
Wow. So I just find it fascinating. I do a lot of work with the unconscious mind, and I think we all have these unconscious blocks, and you're right, every time we go to step up, we kind of hit that wall, and like you, I've also experienced that, kind of like stepping up leveling, and then all of a sudden it's all right for a while, and then all of a sudden you're then shrinking back and sometimes even smaller than you were before. And so start small.
That growth,
Give us an example of what starting small might be.
So I had a client that came to me. She was very very successful. She had a successful career and she had a great family. Like, she was pretty content in her life, but she had this piece of her life, her health and fitness, that she just felt was out of control. And so initially we talked about how to do little things, go for a walk, those kinds of things. And at the end of the week, I called her and I said, hey, did you go for a walk this week? And she said, no, like, I had too much to do. I'm so busy. And I realized that she was having a resistance. Like, I'm sure she was busy, but she also had a resistance that she couldn't really explain. Because how hard is it to go for a walk, right? I wasn't asking her to go run a marathon. So I realized that this is when I started to test it, So I said, this week, I don't want you to work out. I just want you to put workout clothes on. And I could almost hear her, like, calling her accountant, like, going, like, how much am I paying this woman to coach me? Because this is a bad idea. But she did it. And at the end of the week, I called her and I said, did you put your workout clothes on? And she said, yeah, of course I did. Like, that was too small not to do it. And I thought, oh, like, too small. So I said, next week, put your workout clothes on. But when you're standing in front of the TV, like when the news comes on, stand up during the commercials and just march in place. Like, don't work out, but just march in place during the commercials and then, sit back down. And at the end of the week, I called her and I said, did you do it? And she said, no, I did it twice. The third time I just went for a walk. And I thought, oh, like, that's it. We wait for motivation, right? We say, well, I'm going to do that when I get motivated. I'm going to get a better relationship with my partner when I'm motivated, or I'm going to ask for that job promotion or the new project when I'm motivated. But really, if we can break it down into something that takes less than 5 minutes, we start doing that action and our brain says, oh, we're taking action. And then we create that motivation within ourselves. So go big or go home might work because you have that initial adrenaline rush of motivation, but soon it fades off. And if you can break it down instead to just doing little tiny things every day and being consistent, soon you'll create a swell of motivation behind you, and you'll start taking larger and larger jumps to get to your big life, whatever that is for you.
Yeah, fabulous. Okay, so what is a big life? That's my next question. What is a big life? What does it mean to you to have a big life?
Yeah, and I always say my big life is written in pencil, and because it can change from whatever season of my life that I'm in. In 5 years, a big life will feel different to me than it might right now. And so a big life is really so individual. For some people, it may be just being able to all sit together at dinner as a family. For me, a big life has several components. One is it is activities every day where I feel rooted. And by rooted, I mean like roots nourish, right? So I want to be nourishing of other people, and I want to be stable and strong because roots do that. Joy, I want to laugh every day. If I'm able to have a life where every day I'm able to be silly and laugh, like that to me is a big life. The other thing is abundance. I want to feel like I have an abundant life. Like I'm able to see things in the world, and I'm able to have like deep connections with my family and friends, and money coming in, that I have this abundance and wealth in my life so that I can share it and do more goodness. So those are the things for me. They're more surrounding around feelings, but I think everybody has to determine what feels good and what feels big right now. What would be ideal for me in each area of my life right now. And like I said, that will change. In 5 years, I might feel a little differently. My daughter will be off, to college or on adventures of her own. And, I'll feel a little bit differently about what's important or what I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So it's down to, because I think sometimes there's a lot of pressure that people experience when they get into this whole comparison, and what it means to have a big life, or, live the life of your dreams, I say. What does that mean? And of course, we're all different, but sometimes I think we do something and then it's like we feel like we're playing small. And of course, perhaps some of the times we are, because we've got a bigger vision, but we're not actually living it.
Yeah.
So actually breaking down those tasks and taking action gives us that confidence, because it's like a muscle, right?
Yeah.
We take action and then we can take the next bit. Yeah, I love it. Okay.
And I think that comparison piece that you just mentioned is so huge. If we can get a handle on that, I think that our whole lives can be filled with so much more ease.
Yeah. So I loved what you were saying about the about your big life and about the feelings, because I'm kind of like really big on this. And I think sometimes people spend a lot of time chasing goals that aren't necessarily meaningful to them, and then that's why they're not aligned with them and they don't actually reach them. They're unconsciously sabotaging because it's not really what they want.
Yeah.
But when we get into that feeling place of actually what do we want to feel, that I think is really space that always inspires me, because I can connect with it and what it actually is, and embody it in my reality. Abstract goal that I'm trying to achieve, be that energy, or look for that energy where I can follow that energy. So it could be as simple as people getting really clear on what they want to feel like in their day-to-day life.
Yeah, and I think I have some big ideas of things that will make me feel really great that are probably 5 or 10 years down the road. But if I can find the joy in my life right now, it makes the 5 or 10 years not seem like any time at all. Then I'm enjoying where I'm going instead of always feeling like I'm not there. So if I'm finding the joy in the little things in my life, it makes the meantime not seem like a long time,
Yeah, and often, because I know I do that myself. But kind of like feeling a bit frustrated, because there's these goals and things I'm going for and it's not happening fast enough. I know there's a lot of us that are impatient. We want to have it all right now or yesterday, and sometimes that can happen, but it happens a lot faster. I know from my experience, when I stop telling myself, I should have done that by now, or I should be this, or because when you get into that feeling, as you're saying about being in your joy and having fun, then you create more of that, and I think lots of things happen. I think that joy is a little bit of a miracle tool.
Well,
when we're in that joy, then we create more of that to be joyful about.
And I think many times we have things that we want in our lives, right? So there are things I would like to have in the more immediate future. I'd like to lose 5 pounds. I'd like to be able to plan a trip to to Italy and Greece. Like, I have ideas of stuff. But what I do is I try to think about, what would that feel like? Like, what would it feel like when I go and I buy the plane ticket to Greece? Like, what does it look like when I'm there? What's the feeling I'm having? And then when I identify that feeling, I can say, what else makes me feel like that? I've been wanting to move to the beach for years. I've been talking about it. I want to move, I want to move, I want to move. And so I started thinking about, what do I feel like when I'm at the beach? I feel like calm. I feel ease. I feel very much like myself. I feel like there's sort of a smell and a vibe to the beach, like the stores at the beach. And so I live outside Atlanta, Georgia, like a big city that's 5 hours from the beach. But I found a couple stores. One is a juice bar that makes me feel like I'm at the beach. And so if I can be around that, then all of a sudden I can start to bring that into my experience, right? And so when I'm feeling like I'm in that experience, I'm able to bring the beach to me much easier. And so since I've been really trying to do that and, bringing it into my vortex, this feeling of what it's like to be at the beach, I got a text message last night from my mother-in-law saying, hey, I want you to check out this place online. I just bought it. It's a condo at the beach. And I thought, well, look at that. A juice bar bringing me the feeling of the beach. And now all of a sudden I'm going to have access to a beach house. So, it's not me living at the beach, but I don't have to worry about how it's going to come. It's not going to come in the way that I want.
This is the thing. I think sometimes we get too carried away trying to figure out how we're going to make it happen, push it further away, because we feel like we have to do all these things in order to have what we want or to get what we want. When all the while, if we just line up with that energy and that vibration, then it manifests. We create it.
And I think we get stuck on it coming to us in the exact way we think. Right? Yeah. So like, I want this beach house. I want it to be mine where I own it. But when I let that go and just say, I want this feeling, how can I have this feeling? And then it starts to come to you in ways you might not imagine.
Yeah. And I know I do a lot of work with manifesting, and for a lot of people, when I'm asking them about what it is they want and to get into the feeling of it, when they sometimes start dreaming big, when they get into the feeling of it, they decide they don't want that. So they might have been like, okay, well, I want to live at the beach. And then it's like, oh no, because that'll be too much hassle to have to keep the upkeep and or whatever. But actually, if you let go of all those details and actually, do you want a beach house, or do you just actually want to be sat on the beach, right?
Yeah.
We create all these stories.
Yeah, we push it away. We tell the universe what we want, and then we immediately say, oh no, just kidding, that sounds hard. And so the universe says like, oh, okay, no beach. Okay, beach. Like it doesn't even know what to do.
Or imagine that you asked for the condo and there was a palace that was being lined up for you, right?
Exactly, right? We don't know.
The condo, so they just go, oh, give it to someone else.
Yes, exactly. It's funny, just this morning, I was in my meditation and I was, manifesting travel is really something I've been working on. And for whatever reason, Thailand kept coming up for me. And so I thought later today, I'm going to just research Thailand. I'm going to look up plane flights, maybe pick a week that would work for me and just like be open to whatever happens, and it felt really good. Like it felt expansive and open. And so, will I go to Thailand? Who knows? Maybe I'll end up in Italy or Greece, but like opening up and being open to it all, So,
yeah.
Good
beautiful stuff. Okay. So, what else do you want to tell us about how we can create that momentum?
Yeah. I think that getting out of your own way is huge. But I do think that creating the small steps. So sometimes when we want to get started and we say, I have this big goal, but it feels so big, I don't even know where to begin. And so in my book, Start Small, Live Big, I created a framework. So, the woman I was talking about earlier was able to call me and I was able to tell her to just put her workout clothes on, right? But I needed a way that I could help other people do that for themselves. And so I created a framework called Chase. And I'll go over it briefly, but you can download the worksheet and the explanation free on my website. It's right in my shop and it's free right at the top. So Chase stands for create. So one of the things I notice with people is, just like you were saying, they have an idea of what they want, but they're not very clear on it. I always say leave all the details, but just get clear on what it is you really want. So on the Chase worksheet, up at the very top, you write where you are right now. So right now where I am is, I mean, let's say you can't stand your spouse and you want a better relationship, right? So at the top of the worksheet, you know, I want to kick them out of the house. They're driving me nuts, you know, whatever it is. I like my husband. I'm not using him as an example. I'm just saying. So at the top of the worksheet, you know, you put, I'm struggling with this. This is my struggle. And all the way at the bottom of the worksheet, you write what would be great. Because many times we know what we don't want, which is valuable, but we aren't clear on what we do want. And when we're trying to manifest something, we have to be clear on what we really want. So what would be great? You know, a relationship with my spouse where I feel connected, I feel heard, respected. You know, we each have individual habits, but we're interested in those. We share values and friendships. You know, we like to travel to the same places. You know, that would be a big life in terms of my relationship. So now I have a piece of paper, a worksheet, at the top where I am, at the bottom where I want to go. And I have people set a timer for 10 minutes. And the timer is important because if you don't set the timer, you'll write a couple things that come to the top of your mind and you won't keep going. So set a timer for 10 minutes. And then you're just going to create all the small steps you could do that would take you from the top to the bottom. So write out any little thing you could think of. What would make it better? You know, maybe if I got the house was clean and he helped me clean the house, or I got a house cleaner, or, you know, all those little things. Like I listened more. I learned how to listen more. We went to a counselor, like all the little things. What things you actually do? And many times when people do this, they say to me that around minute 7 or 8, they start coming up with stuff in their head that has nothing to do with the worksheet. And that's so normal. So I say, write it down, because that's your amygdala. That's your body saying, don't think about this because it's getting real, right? So keep writing. So now I have where I am. I have a vision of where I want to go. And I have all the little ways that I could make it happen. So, and it doesn't, I'll say this one last thing about that. It doesn't have to be things you would actually do. But if it comes to your mind, just write it, okay? So the next part is H for help. So now look at all your little steps and say, where could I get help? You know, with the house cleaner. Like maybe my spouse is always the one that's cleaning, and that leads to strife. And so for a couple months while I work on this, I'm going to get a house cleaner. Where are all the other places I could delegate out, that I could hand it off, right? And then the A is for assist. Like sometimes I need to learn something new. Like I need to get more, attain something new. So I have to attain more knowledge, or I need to take that one step further. And so just underline all of those places. And the reason that I want you to do that is because then it'll be really clear what's left. And what's left is where you can actually get started. So the S is for start. And all you're going to do is find one thing on that page that would take less than 5 minutes. So less than 5 minutes, and put it on your calendar for the very next day. Because by doing the worksheet, you've created some momentum. And now when you put something on your task list for the very next day and schedule it in, you're continuing with that momentum. And if you look at the list and you're like, there's nothing I can do, find one thing and just break it down further. So you need to just find something that's so teeny tiny. You know, maybe I want to go to Thailand, but that overwhelms me. So I could just start a Pinterest board, right? So that I'm able to start pinning stuff about Thailand. Like, you know, it doesn't have, and my point with it is it doesn't have to be anything big, you know? I don't have to figure it out. I just have to do something.
Well, you know what's interesting, because I was getting really excited when you were talking about putting on the workout clothes, right?
Yeah.
Because, the gym doesn't call me. But actually, the idea of putting on the workout clothes does.
Yeah.
How amazing would that be, right?
Yes, right?
Because our brains don't know the difference between what we imagine and what's real.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
yeah, totally. So the very last part of chase is the E, which is evaluate. I have a friend who is an airline pilot, and he flies across country, the United States. And he said he has to constantly check the computers and make sure he's on course, Because if he's off course by just 1%, he'll end up landing in a different state. And so if we can check every week and say, am I still on course with this? Like, what worked, what didn't work? And then plug in things for the next week. So now I'm adding in more of the small steps for the following week. And that evaluation helps to keep me going. So all of that helps me stay connected to it. You know, sometimes we start something, especially if we're going big, we start something and then it gets overwhelming and we get off course. When I was writing this book, my husband decided it was a good idea to bring home a puppy. And, I mean, I was beside myself. We have one other dog who's really old and small, and he brought home a dog that had the biggest paws. I knew it was not going to end well. And so when I was trying to write, he kept interrupting me. You know, he kept like wanting to play and wanting to sit with me, and he's such a sweet animal. But I was so overwhelmed. And one day I sat on the front porch, and that's how I developed the chase. Because I was like, okay, where I am right now is that I have this book to write, and I'm mad because of this crazy dog. And at the bottom of the page, I wrote what would be perfect. Was like, he was calm. He listened, he laid down when I was working, And so then I just started writing all the different ways I could come to that. And I had crazy things written. Like find a good home for the dog in the middle of the day and don't tell my husband, like I thought of crazy things. But the one I decided on was that for 10 minutes a day, I was going to just bring him for a walk. So 10 minutes is nothing, right? So small, like 10 minutes, I'm just going to walk him up the street. And so I started to do that every day, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Well, there's a compound effect to that. And after the first month, I was walking so much faster, and he was being so much better on the leash. By the end of the month, we had walked 34 miles. And all I did was 10 minutes a day. And so he had 34 miles of calmness in him. It was amazing. It transformed him. We became closer because he learned to listen to me. And I developed the chase framework, So it was really, I think when we can start to be creative, we are such creative beings. And the chase process is really a creative process. I do it now. I have a big kids pad of paper, like a giant pad of paper and markers. And when I do my chase, I use markers and I make it fun, and it helps me to be more creative and think of things. I literally use chase every day to come up with problem or solutions to my problems, so it can be really powerful.
Fantastic. I love that, when you were talking about your puppy, because I think sometimes we can distract ourselves. So when we're not connected to our goal and we're not aligned with it, then we, all these distractions pop up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we create them to give us a reason or an excuse, right, not to do it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes there are these things that are kind of like a distraction, but they're not, because it's like everything is always serving us.
Yeah.
And so what you thought was a distraction was actually the opening and the gateway for you to come up with this new model.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, it was a gift from the universe, that puppy.
Yeah. Then what if all of our frustrations and distractions could give us that breakthrough?
Yes. Right. Yeah. So powerful.
We'll have some of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that story. And so how old is your puppy now?
Now he's like a year and a half.
And how big is he?
He's like 60 pounds. But he thinks he thinks he's 10 pounds. He wants to sit on your lap. And he's very sweet. And he's calm now. So he's right here and he's quiet because he's learned.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, so if somebody was to ask you about, somebody was to come to you and they say that they have this big vision and they were overwhelmed, you take them through this chase system in order to kind of really just start breaking everything down and taking action and building that momentum, yeah?
Yeah. And
Fantastic.
I think when you do that, it switches the way your mind thinks, right? So like you were saying, your brain doesn't know what's real and what's just perceived. So I think that if we can get in the vortex, if we can get in the force field of that positive energy. And sometimes that overwhelming feeling is kicking us out of the thing coming to us. But when we can break it down, it makes us feel control. And when we feel control, it lowers that gateway and allows the good feelings in. And when the good feelings are in, then you're in the vortex and things begin to manifest for you.
Yeah, I love it. So sometimes it's about getting in touch with the feeling, and then sometimes it's about taking action, right? Any inspired action.
Yeah,
because I think that's one of the other things that I see people struggling with sometimes is when they're overwhelmed, because they're just taking action, but they may be taking action that's not really aligned with their goal. They're doing what they think they should be doing, or they're getting really busy with the wrong things.
Yeah,
because we kind of try and sometimes just control it all. By being busy thinking about it, doing it, whereas actually if we let go and we just sit with the feeling and what it feels like, we can get an amazing idea come in to go somewhere, and that's where the magic can come in and join us, meet us.
I think that when we
like your mother-in-law, you didn't have to do anything, it just happened. It was a gift, it came to you. But if you hadn't have had that thought, and you hadn't connected with that, who knows, maybe she wouldn't have called you up and invited you. Maybe she would at some point, but it's just how amazing that we can create and we can manifest that quickly to change things, rather than having to make things really hard or complicated, and we've got to do this and this and this before we can have what we want. So some things can come really quick.
I think that we have heard a story our whole lives that you have to work really hard to get what you want. And I think there's two different ways to get things. One is to work really hard, and that takes a really long time. And the other way is to be in alignment and follow the signs. And when you can do that and start to follow the little signs that come to you, then all of a sudden it's so much fun, because you're picking up these little nuggets of inspiration and taking the action. I mean, the action you have to do, but I think when you can, and I use the word relax a lot, like if you can relax enough so that you know that you're on the path, you'll start to see the inspired actions. And that's huge.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why I think the chase works so well, because it allows you to just brainstorm, and that brainstorming creative process can allow some of that to come in. And then you'll start to notice it, like in other areas of your life, right? So you'll start to see things. I play a game with my daughter all the time where we try to see something, like if we're out and about. And so one day we said, we were out and about, and again, I live in Atlanta, so I'm 5 hours from the beach. But I said to her, I'm manifesting the beach, so I want to see a sign that says I'm finding my way to the beach. And we were in the car, we were on our way to a department store, and I said, maybe if we see around here, we have those Salt Life stickers on the cars that people get at the beach. And she said, that's too easy. Like, you can't see a Salt Life sticker because you'll see them. So it has to be something else, like Beach Life. And I was like, I have never seen anything that says Beach Life, but okay, fine. And we were walking, we parked the car, we walked into the department store, and like a 50-year-old man walked out with a Beach Life t-shirt on. And we were both like, oh my God, I didn't even know those existed. So you can make it really fun. And then it made me so excited because I knew it was coming. I knew that the beach was coming. So
yeah, I love that. Okay, so if people want to find out more about the chase method, you've got this available on your website. So you can go to, if you go to lovekimberley.com/Betsy Pake, you'll be directed to the link. We'll have that all set up for you, and then you can take yourself through the worksheet and find out more about Betsy and what she's got to offer. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience?
No, I think just know, even if you don't believe it right now when you're listening, just know that everything that you feel like you want or that you desire in your life, you're meant to have. And when you feel that feeling and then you immediately say, oh, but I can't because I'm too old, or I can't because of this or because of that, try to let that go and just know that I promise you're meant to have it. Maybe not in the exact way that you think, but just be open to whatever's coming to you, and good things will start to show themselves, because you deserve to live a big life.
Yeah, I love that. So everything is possible, and we're the ones that make it possible, right? By allowing ourselves to believe and to take action and to be aligned and be in that kind of state of connection with what we're wanting. Yeah. Love it. Betsy, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to connect with you, my darling, and to hear all about your start small, live big idea. I think it's fantastic. I'm sure lots of people will really get lots of golden nuggets from this, and it'd be really useful to people. So do go and check out the Chase worksheet, lovekimberley.com/Betsy Pake. And till we meet again, much love and bye for now, everybody.
You've been listening to the Wealthy Business Goddess Show. If you've enjoyed the show, subscribe and review our podcast. Sign up to receive your Wealthy Business Goddess resources and join us in the Wealthy Business Goddess community at www.lovekimberley.com/WBG. To find out more about how Kimberley can support you in creating the life and business of your dreams, or to watch the show via video, visit the website at www.kimberleylovell.com.